couple things. Number one, TJ's will not play this week. He's got a foot issue, and we're trying to – I said ankle the other day. It's not an ankle. It's a foot issue. And we're all trying to figure out what the situation is. He hasn't practiced in a week, and he won't practice this week. I'll have a better feel by next week what it looks like. Alonzo Frink has made tremendous progress. He's close. Not there yet, but he's close. And then obviously Jermaine's situation remains in a holding pattern. And like I said, I think it was last week or week before, I don't remember. It's not a campus issue. It's we're in a holding pattern, waiting for clarifications and decisions to be made.
Frank, with TJ out, how is Trey's ankle, and who do you look at the backup spot? Would Hassani go in there if Trey can't go a lot of minutes?
Yeah, I mean, Trey felt good after practicing on it for 2 days going into the exhibition game, and then he stepped on someone's foot during the game and re-aggravated. And then we shut him down again, and then he went through a whole practice, Friday or Saturday, one or the other. And he was winded, but he was good. And then yesterday he actually practiced real well, and he, knock on wood, I hope he doesn't step on anyone else's foot, but he's good to go. And then, it's I said it after the Virginia Tech scrimmage. A.J. Lawson, I thought, did a great job up at Virginia Tech at the point. He was a little sloppy yesterday at the point. Doesn't mean he played bad. He just was a little sloppy playing the point yesterday. But he brings it's a different dynamic at the point guard spot than what Trey or Hassani or anyone else gives us. So we have to obviously there'll be some growing pains there, but we're going to play him off the ball and on the ball. And then Hassani can always go in there and play some point guard too.
Coach, just how much are you looking forward to the season opener, just the start of a brand new season, and also is it a little extra special knowing that your son is on the other sideline and he'll be competing against you tomorrow night? Yeah,
Joe, I've tried real hard to not think about the latter part of your question. I've tried as hard as I can to omit that from my thoughts because that's going to be hard for me. Proud, but hard. The season, I'm always geeked up. I'm always ready to go. I like this team. We're not as good as we need to be right now, but that's understood just because of our youth. But I'm excited about these guys. We injuries has kind of deflated us a little bit in practice. We've had 10 bodies, and that's including a walk-on that we went and found on campus and 10 days ago and added him to the whole deal. Emily, I don't know if we've shared that publicly yet or not, but I had to go on campus and find a guy who's just walking around so we can have a 10th healthy body to practice with. Practices yesterday was, it's the best practice we've had in 2 weeks yesterday from enthusiasm, from a discipline, we had 11 bodies at practice yesterday, so maybe that had something to do with it. But, I'm ready to go. I know the guys are excited. Who knows what's going to happen, moving forward. I got no idea. I don't worry about those things. I know I'm in a good place with my mindset with this team right now. Now we got to go out there and play. And there's going to be moments, where it's going to be frustrating during the course of a game. But, it's just part of the job. I signed up for it. I can't complain when when we go through a difficult moment in the game. And then with my son's deal, I've tried real hard to not think about it because emotionally it would tear me up. But I'm real proud of him, how hard he's worked to put himself in that situation. I know as a parent, I couldn't be happier that he's around Dave Dickerson and his staff as men, so they can help him continue to grow. And, like I tell our players every day, and I tell their parents when I go in their homes, my job is to take that baton and help run that last leg of the race, because when they're done in college, it's manhood. And I, as a parent, I couldn't be prouder that he's being prepared in that last leg of the race before manhood by that staff. So, I'm sure when the game starts, I'll tell you what was real uncomfortable: scouting report, seeing his name on there and seeing what he does well and what he doesn't do well, and kind of trying to explain to our players, like, when this guy gets in, he can't do this. We got to force him into this. That was kind of uncomfortable. But a lot of family in town, and it'll be a moment that whenever I'm done, I can look back and say, wow, that was powerful.
Coach, if you ever need a 10th guy, you can hit me up, any point during the season.
We wouldn't get along real good, I can promise you that.
But I guess for you, what was your biggest takeaway from the exhibition? I know maybe some knee-jerk reaction, from a loss in exhibition, but what did you see from your team? What do you think they've learned or could learn from that experience that will help them, going into their season opener tomorrow?
We're no good practicing for 3 days or so leading into that game. I handled that game exactly the way I told the players I was going to handle it. We didn't get any pouting. We didn't get any, I think it was good for us. I'm not going to say because we lost, because we didn't play well. And we got so many young guys. See, the hardest thing with freshmen in today's day and age is teaching them how to practice. The days of guys that I've spoken about this, that I don't want to bore you with the same answer, but grassroots basketball has changed drastically. They don't practice as much as they used to. They all work out with chairs and balls and dribbling and shooting triple, reverse, double step back fadeaway jump shots, but they don't understand, the rest of the game, the screening, the cutting, the passing, how to play in your own space, because you don't get to, when you do one on a chair, you got the whole court to yourself. When you're playing 5 against 5, you don't have the whole court. You only have a certain space of the court, and you have to learn how to operate in that space. And so the value of practice teaches you those things. And that's the hardest thing with freshmen, is to understand structure and consistency. And the game is a little deeper than just a guy with the ball. The game's a little deeper than that. And the days of, like when I grew up, it doesn't make it bad, it's just different. Of Bob Hurley and Morgan Wooten and guys like that, where it was year-round practice to play 20 games. Those days don't exist in grassroots anymore. Now they play 100 games in the summer. And there's no practice time. And so they get to college, and we got to practice, like I've said before, 110 times to play 30 games. They don't understand the value of practice. And Darius didn't understand it, and he was awesome. He didn't understand it. P.J. Dozier didn't understand it. And as they understood it, they grew as players. And so that's the biggest hurdle right now. And I think our freshmen have embraced, okay, I got to practice a little better. I got to figure out how to do things a little better. Sense of urgency, lack of better words.
What's the biggest obstacle to keeping Chris out of foul trouble? And do you think that he's kind of gotten targeted a bit just because of the fact that he has kind of developed the rep for that, unfortunately?
If we can keep the officials outside the building, then we can keep him out of foul trouble. We all have a journey. We all have a path. We all have things that we got to figure out. officials don't adjust to players. Players adjust to officials. That's the way it should be, and that's the way it's always been. And you know, he's got to do a better job. His fouls are what I call passive fouls. They're not trying to block shots. They're not. It's like in a ball screen, just kind of jumping out and over-hedging his defensive responsibility and bumping the guy with the ball. It's like someone boxes him out because in every scouting report they've got 2 guys assigned to go box him out because they know he goes after every offensive rebound. Well, sometimes they box you out. You can't jump on the guy's back to go get the ball. You know, those are his fouls. When he doesn't commit those fouls, his minutes are up. Over the last 2 years, when his minutes are up, we've won a bunch of games. You know, and that's kind of the challenge. And you know, officials are going to call what they see and what they're calling. And that I only get mad during the course of a game with officials when I think what's being called is inconsistent. But officiating's hard. It's not easy. It's really hard. And you know, Chris was better last year than he was the year before. I'm hoping he'll be even better this year.
How concerned are you about Dion Holmes and your defensive plans for him? And did you remember him very much coming out of high school?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. It's he's a real good player, and I know Dave. Obviously, Dave and I haven't spoken much in the last 2-3 weeks because we're both consumed with our own teams, and obviously out of respect to the fact that we're playing each other. But I know Dave and them were real happy with him at the end of the summer. He bought into what they were getting him to do, the work ethic, the day-to-day approach, and you couple that with the fact that he's an accomplished college player that can score. I can see him going into having a real good year for him this year. Am I concerned? Yes. Anytime we're playing a guy like him that has the ability to score in different ways, to shoot free throws, that's a concern. And you go into every game. I know that everyone outside a locker room thinks that the mindset changes game to game. It does not. The mindset's the same. You don't prepare to beat whoever's leading scorer is that game. You prepare with your mindset that you create habits with going every single game, and it starts with him. He's a real good player, and one of the you know, Phil, one of the difficult things in coaching are the early games in the season, especially with a new staff, because you don't have. I've gone back and watched games from Tulane when Dave was the head coach at Tulane, just to get a feel to some of the things that he might rely on. And but I've got 2 unknowns, just like Dave does. We have the unknown of so many new players, and we have the unknown of the opponent. Dave has a little bit of a head start, is that, you know, I've been here 6 years. He can watch film, and if you watch my teams play last year or 8 years ago, there's a lot of consistencies with how we do certain things. You know, early season games, that's as a coach, that's the biggest reason for not sleeping well is the unknown. It's there's going to be and with so many, like with Sindarius and those guys, I'm going to go backwards a little bit. We had so much experience that during the course of a game in a timeout, at halftime, whatever, there are certain things that you can speak about, and because of experience, they're able to take what you say and execute it on the court, adjustment-wise. With so many first-year guys, they're not going to understand those adjustments real quick, and it's just the way it works.
Frank, kind of a unique situation in terms of Dave Dickerson's hiring at Upstate. Mm-hmm. Jeff Crane, who you work with on a day-to-day basis, was involved up there as the interim AD in making it hire. What can you tell us about your involvement, if any, in terms of did Jeff lean on you some? Did he use you as a sounding board and kind of trying to identify what the right fit was there, and Dave in particular and his interest?
I'd rather you ask Jeff that question because he was the guy that was making the decision. Did he and I speak? Yes. How much did he lean on what I said? I've never asked him that. That's why I said I think if you ask Jeff, he'll give you a candid answer, knowing Jeff. But, yeah, we did speak at length. I think it's no secret that I tried to hire Dave here a couple years ago. Dave and I have a friendship of over 20 years, and a real friendship, not a, hey, what's up friendship, a real friendship. I think the world of Dave Dickerson. I think the human being, the coach, and the man all connect. It's not three different entities. I think, his staff, Stacy Palmore, who's been an assistant at every level of college basketball, and just a tremendous human being. Ron Bradley, who, he's been around forever, around successful basketball, knows this state, and he was Dave's coach at Maryland. And then Garcia, who's the young guy on the staff who played for Dave. It was his first point guard at Tulane. So I know that Jeff, when he sat down with Dave, was blown away. I know that. So I'm real happy because Dave's home. He's getting an opportunity as a head coach again, which the first one was just a difficult. Talk about dealing with adversity at a difficult moment. Holy cow, what he went through, getting his first job, and all of a sudden, Katrina hit New Orleans, and the rest is history. I'm really excited that he's in our state. I'm not excited that I got to coach against him, but I'm really excited that he's in our state. He's at one of our sister schools, being part of the state deal. And I'm excited that Jeff, made that hire. I really am.
Franco, only 10 guys available tomorrow. Will you have to try to scale down some of the things that you want to do, maybe the tempo, just to try to keep everybody as fresh as possible to not only get through tomorrow but to get through the week?
God, I'm a math teacher, and you got the number down packed. I didn't even know how many guys are available tomorrow. As long as I don't have to check myself in the game, we're all right. If I got to put myself in the game, we got issues. I'll manage the game. I want us to play a certain way. If I feel that we need to kind of catch our breath a little bit, I might slow it down here and there. But we're still trying to get this team to find an identity, a personality. And you can practice all you want. You don't figure that stuff out till you start playing games. I've got a better feel after last weekend. I'll manage the game when it starts according to how the game's flowing, for lack of better words. We went into Georgia with 8 guys. You remember, you're hiding behind the column over there when I walked right by you. And we didn't slow it down that night. We went up and down, and with 8 guys, luckily we didn't get in foul trouble and figured out a way to win. I'll manage it. I'll say this, all 10 guys have practiced a lot for the last 2 weeks now, so they should all be ready to go.
Frank, when you're recruiting Trey, how much did you want to know about that accident that happened in terms of him mentally? I mean, it's kind of a freak thing. You're a basketball player and you don't get hurt on the basketball floor and you lose a whole season for it. What did you know about it? What did he tell you about it? And now that he plays further, can you see that there's kind of a value in appreciating different things after you go through something like that?
I didn't want to know a lot about the accident. I wanted to kind of know more about his mindset, where he was at. Was he doubting in himself? Was he in a place of, like, I'm on edge. I can't wait to get this chance to do this again. I know when I've dealt with adversity, with an injury or professionally or or just in life, when I sit back and I'm dealing with that moment, I tend to like reflect a little bit on what I've been able to do. And when I get back from the injury, it allows me to, or that adverse moment, it allows me to really, really embrace the things I've been through that I really, really miss, and the stuff that I think is irrelevant. So in my conversations with him, I wasn't like, well, what really was the injury, or how, what do you think you're going to be limited to? I never got into all that. I was more in conversations with him trying to figure out, like, what did you really miss? What are you excited about being able to move forward and do? And we never spoke about, I never got to show my game or none of that nonsense, because I think all that's nonsense. His whole deal was, I just want an opportunity to do this again. That's it, and that to me was exciting, because that's somebody that's looking to get back to doing something that they really missed, and that was our conversations.
I guess a little bit bigger picture, but football obviously instituted that new redshirt rule where guys can play 4 games and still maintain that extra year. Is that something you'd like to see, I guess, on the college basketball side of things, where you can get guys experience and then still keep them around for, I guess, an extra year?
Yeah, why don't we just do that like across all sports? I don't understand why we continue to, like, we're all under the same umbrella. We're NCAA athletic programs. Why do we have different rules for different teams for stuff like that? Like, we got the same rule academically. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Then why do we have to change rules? I understand the rules of the game are different because different games, but I don't understand why we complicate things so much sometimes. It just makes no sense to me. I think it's an awesome rule. Awesome. Like, I'm going to use T.J. Moss for an example. Okay, he's dealing with a foot issue. Okay, what's 4? How many football games is it? I don't even 12. So that's 33%. How about that, Dave? How about that, Dave? So let everyone play 33% of the games. And after playing 33, like last year, Jason Cudd. Maybe we could have played him 33% of the time and then realized, like, okay, he's not quite ready, and we could redshirt him. He'd still be a freshman this year. I don't know why we complicate things. That seems to me like something so simple. But it's like whoever sits at a desk somewhere that's, like we coaches like to call the suits that make these decisions. Why is that so hard? Why is that such a hard concept to sit back and say, let's try that for every sport? No, like football, no one else. I don't know. Maybe out of my mind sometimes, but it just makes no sense. I'm all for that football rule. I think it's an incredible. Think about this, and with the transfer deal that we've got in basketball, makes even more sense.
This kind of tails off of that, but Coach K said earlier this fall that college basketball is devoid of having a single voice or something like a commissioner. Do you think that college basketball needs somebody to kind of oversee it?
I don't know. Football doesn't have that. What's that? But I've never heard anyone try to argue that they. What good does that single voice do? I mean, I don't. So would that voice be in favor of the players or in favor of the universities? So then you need 2 voices. You need a players' union representative and a university representative. I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with Coach. I just I think college athletics. I've said this 100 times. It's unique. It's different than anywhere else in the world. It's a different deal. It's different sports. I don't know. You've heard me say this before. We're viewed at a higher rate than at any time in the history of college basketball. Our sport right now it continues to grow. It's not going the other way. It continues to grow. I don't know. I guess I'd be open to listening as to what that person would do to remedy or help basketball grow. I don't know. I don't disagree. I haven't given it any thought. How about that? Is that a better answer? I don't disagree with it, but I don't necessarily jump out of my shoes thinking that's exactly what we need. I don't know. I'm trying to think how to answer your question a little better than hedging the way I just did, but I don't. What's that? Yeah. What would that person do? Like speak to the media? Really? That's what we're supposed to do. Help me out. I know the name, but I'm drawing a blank.
He used to run the NCAA.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we've got that. We've got people that speak on behalf of the NCAA. We've got, to a certain extent, I know it's the selection committee, but, Dan Gavitt is as qualified a person as I know for college basketball. I mean, what he has been a part of in the growth of college basketball since 1979 or whatever year the whole Big East thing started, he understands all that. So the opinions to grow our game with him in that room is powerful. We've got incredible coaches in this game that have made this game. It was great before they got there, and they've made it even greater during their time. I get the benefit of being in a room during a season and as a friend with one of those guys and Bob Huggins. And I sit down, when I'm around those guys, I shut up and I listen because they've grown the game from where it was at, 35, 40 years ago to where it's at now, which is viewed, think about it. We used to have the Final Four in arenas. Now we have them in domes in front of 80,000 people, and it's still viewed on TV more than ever has in the history of the game. And, so we've taken the game, those guys, I'm not going to include myself in that, those guys have taken the game over the last 35 years to, tremendous places. Here's what I do think we need. I think we need more coaches to take more ownership of our profession. That I think we need to do. When we're in a room amongst us, we need to be a little more candid with one another. That I do think we need.
Does Miss Anya get a pass tomorrow?
Oh boy, she's a train wreck. She's emotionally beat up right now, and so much family in town. It's going to be hard. The kids, like Amalia and Christian, they're excited. Everyone in the family is very excited, but very nervous. And you got to understand, we don't play well, we get beat. I'm going to be real proud as a dad, but you guys are not around me very much outside of whatever facial reconstruction I create when I come in here after a loss. I'm a miserable human being after losses. I want to be by myself and not talk to anybody. And if we play well and win, then obviously his team lost, and his spirits are going to be down. Does he play? Does he not play? There's a lot of unknown going into this game that it's going to be hard to manage during the game. For example, what do you think is going to feel like when, let's say my son gets in the game and he's guarding Chris, and I'm running plays to get Chris the ball because I don't think that he can guard Chris. When I get home, what do you think she's going to say to me? Do you really have to run plays for Chris? You know what I mean? It's a little complicated. But it's one of these moments that I'm happy it's finally here. And 10 years from now, I'm still allowed to be on this planet. It's going to be one of those things that when I'm sitting around serving rum and cokes in that bar down in the Caribbean somewhere, I'll just smile by myself every once in a while. I was able to be a part of something like that. Thank you.